So I am Ajanta Dey. I work as the Joint Secretary and Program Director of Nature, Environment and Wildlife Society. The acronym is NEWS News. And since 1991, actually, we are working. And I particularly come from a background which was not directly associated with conservation science, but I was an avid traveler. I used to trek a lot in the Himalayas. And while exploring the Himalayas, I found that a lot of things are changing. Like the glaciers are receding, there is huge deforestation, there are dams being built which are altering the ecology of the area, and it was not a good sight for me, being a lover of nature. So I was looking at various ways as to why is it happening, how is it happening, what can be done to prevent it. And then I came across our secretary, Mr. Vishwajit Rai Chaudhuri of News, and I got slowly involved in the activities. And the mangrove ecosystem of Sundarban was very close to us, and I often used to go there. We were then working on tiger straying and other projects. It was not like mangrove conservation when I started initially working there. It was on olive ridley turtle, uh, wildlife conservation projects we were working on. But when we were working there, I saw that there were a lot of mangrove afforestation programs that were being carried out, and we thought that okay, this mangrove plantation that the forest department or other agencies are taking up, they are planting, but very astonishingly, after 3 4 months, they are not surviving there. We don't see them. So we were thinking that what is happening? They are planting, but it's not surviving. Maybe the mortality is very high. But we thought that that is not only the reason. Yes, the mortality for mangroves are high, but that is not the only reason. We felt that there was a need that the communities, the local communities, has to be involved, because you plant and then you go away, but who are there to protect it? So we tried to develop a community based mangrove restoration model from 2007 to 2009, and it turned out to be very successful. But it was in a very small scale, 80 hectares, 100 hectares. And then Ayla happened. A severe cyclonic storm, Ayla. So when Ayla happened, it was a tremendous learning for us, that all that we have created, all that little assets that we had created for the local communities to pursue for conservation, to pursue for sustainable livelihoods, had all gone to uh, shambles. There was nothing. The waters, the saline waters had swept away everything. So then we thought that maybe our approach, that we are trying to, the way we are working, we have to shift there and try to understand that what is the most important component of the ecosystem where we are working. And for each ecosystems that we have, from the mountains to the deserts to valley to urban ecosystems, riverine ecosystems, brackish water ecosystems, deltaic ecosystems, marine ecosystems, wherever you think of, it's an ecosystem where there is a web of life which are integratedly uh, linked to one another, which cannot survive. The biotic components, the abiotic components cannot survive without the other. So, this web of life, which is embedded in all these ecosystems, each of the ecosystems are pivotally centered around some of the components, the essential components. And we identified that uh, in Sundarban, the key component of the ecosystem is the mangrove, because the entire web of life, all the gamut of ecosystem services that we get from there are emerging out of the mangroves. And the mangroves are the typical adaptive features, I would say, adaptive species that are particularly uh, born in this brackish water ecosystem where the freshwater riverine system gradually melts into the sea. It's the transient zone where the mangroves survive, where the terrestrial ecosystem is gradually disintegrating into the marine ecosystem. And so, mangrove ecosystem, as I said, it is in the transient zone where the terrestrial ecosystem melts. I always like say that it transcends into the sea. Uh, you just imagine that's the riverine system that comes from the mountains, various hills, springs, and they mingle with other river tributaries, and then on the lower part of the river stretch where it gradually it descends into the sea, you will always find the mangroves. Where the river have very abruptly ended into the sea, you won't find the mangroves, because there has to be this tidal flow, there has to be this exchange, tidal exchange, the sea, the fresh water and the sea water coming inside, and there only these mangroves survive, because they are halophytic plants, they are salt tolerant plants. And what is the most important function? They are very typically adapted here. The roots, the stem, the leaves, everything is adapted to be able to withstand this particular natural discourse, the hydrological dynamics of this region, that every day 6 hours, every 6 hours we face the high tide, the low tide. So huge water comes in inside the freshwater system and then again goes out after 6 hours. So this continuous exchange, and you would be amazed to know that in Sundarban, the tidal amplitude, it varies from 5 meters to 20 meters. So you just can imagine the extent of the tidal amplitude that it happens in some times of the year. So this huge tidal influx, I would say, the tidal exchange and the associated dynamics, only the mangroves can withstand it. No other plant species can take this, because in order to withstand this tidal force, they have the stilt roots so that they can withstand the tidal energy, the wave energy. They have the pneumatophores, because we know that the roots are geotropic, that they go down, but here they go down and again they come up because they're unable to breathe in that clay soil, and they come up, and then only they can breathe. So it's a completely different type of adaptive ways to survive in this ecosystem. Then they have perforated bark, salt glands to extrude that extra salt that they take in while the xylem phloem movements, transpiration, everything. And their leaves are also quite, I would say, thicker than the plants from terrestrial nature. So they have thicker breadth of the leaves, and that is the marvel of it also, you know, because when these leaves fall as leaf litter, and we are blessed with the tropical ecosystem, because mangroves always grow in the tropical and subtropical limits. So with the blessed sun, all these leaf litters are decomposed into micronutrients, and these nutrients are providing huge resources for the fishes, the shrimp, the crabs, and lots of other organisms that thrive in this water. That is the reason we call that mangroves are the nursery of the fishes, because you know it's a muddy water, and we know a word called machanya, like the it's mostly prevalent in the fish community, that the larger fishes eat away the smaller fishes. So predation is very precarious in this fish community. And this year, due to the muddy waters, what happens is the all the nurseries, the small fishes, they all come inside this mangrove ecosystem, and they avoid predation, grow. And that is why the people in Bengal are so fish lovers, that has developed their culture. So it's teeming with fish, providing life and livelihood to so many communities. Besides, it gives protection against the storms and cyclones. We know that what has the mangroves done in Ayla, in Bulbul, Yash, Amphan, that is wreaking this area in last 2 years. Three big cyclones have hit this area since February 2020. So mangroves have been found time and again to act as a bioshield. It's nature's choice, nature's way of protecting the entire coastal region. As it as the wind and the wave energy, it gets dissipated by the mangroves before it strikes the landmass. And we also have understood the role of the mangroves after the tsunami in 2004, and then only after that, that mangroves for future, a very big endeavor was taken up to protect the mangroves in the coastal regions, because they are the saviors. They act as the bioshield. Besides, what they do in this trapped lateral branching root systems they have, they retain the terrestrial sediments, they recycle the nutrients, so that whatever the polluting factors that have happened in the upper stretches of the river, when they enter the sea, it supports clear offshore waters. And this in turn favors the photosynthetic activity of the phytoplanktons, as well as the growth and the robustness of the coral reefs, the seagrass beds, the reef fish communities, which again is contributing to the marine ecosystem. And as I said, it's the nursery of the fish, finfish, crabs, etc. And all these growth of the phytoplankton, zooplankton, periplankton is consumed by these spawning and juvenile stages of fish, and these muddy waters, branching roots avoid them the predation. So it is the nursery of the fish, finfish, crab. It also acts as a huge carbon sequestering pool, being one of the most carbon rich biomes, with carbon more below the ground and have higher below to above ground carbon biomass ratios than the terrestrial trees. So, in the context of greenhouse gas reduction, the various strategies that we take up, the mangroves are a very, very important mitigating factor to climate change. So besides, you see, they also act as absorbent of toxic pollutants, sediments, and the mangrove microbial biodiversity is very unique. It has a lot of cyanobacteria, fungi, protists, algae, which is constantly working in these mangroves to have the ecosystem services functioning the way it does. And lastly, of course, the aesthetics and the recreational facilities that it provide. It's the pristine landscape, it's enjoyed by tourists, and a lot of people go there to visit the and to witness the biodiversity that generates out of it. So, and the most important thing is that why is it teeming with so much of biodiversity? Why are there critically endangered species, all flourishing there? And what is the contribution of the mangrove ecosystem to this huge amount of biodiversity? This is because when in the high tide, you will find the forest is absolutely uh, silent, waiting for the tide to go away. Uh, Everything is still and silent. Everyone is like waiting for another 6 hours, because this tide has will when it goes away, it will leave fresh, rich nutrients on the mud flats. And when it goes away, when the mud flats get exposed, it's a drama that opens up in the Sundarban, because it's the time to feed. Whatever the nutrients have been left, the crabs will come out of its hole, the echinodermata will come out, the mollusks, the shrimps will start to eat those, the otters will come, the birds will start pecking on it. With for the birds, then the monitor lizard will come out, the crocodiles will come out, the mammals will come out to each have its share. And lastly, we have the Panthera tigris on the top of the food chain, the Royal Bengal tiger, the only mangrove forest in the world which has the tiger population is in the Sundarban. So now we have in India we have 11 species of kingfishers, and in Sundarban only we have 8 species, because kingfishers, they feed on the fish. So you can understand more than 250 species of birds we have. Then we have 34 species of mammals, reptiles, uh, and of course the critically endangered species like river terrapin, the Batagur baska, the tiger population, the snakes, all these are there. And this is the reason that this entire food chain that generates out of the leaf litter, the detritus ecosystem of the mangroves. And this all this flora fauna are dependent on this mangrove ecosystem for its survival, its food, its existence, to avoid predation, everything that one needs to survive in this world.